Looking through the winners of this past Golden Demon, there's something really important that we as miniature painters can learn from these results. And it might not be what you think. Sure, we could talk about the hundreds of hours of work, the conversions, the flawless technique, and even for this year, the beautiful backdrops. But there's a bigger lesson to be learned here, and it matters to all of us whether you're painting for a competition or not. Let me explain. First off, let me say that I have a huge respect for the winners of Golden Demon. Their creativity and their dedication to the craft is so inspiring. These miniatures are pieces of art, and it's clear that so much passion and creativity has went into creating each and every one of them. But let's get real for a second. Behind each of these trophies are hundreds of entries that didn't make the cut. And that fact can be really tough to deal with. The reality is that most of us are never going to win a Golden Demon. So today I'd like to discuss what that means to you and me. But before I dive into that, I think we should start painting. Today I'll be painting the Corsagi Night Guard, and I want to paint this miniature in a way that reminds me of why I fell in love with miniature painting in the first place. So I didn't have a solid plan laid out. Instead, I'll feel my way forward, and here I'm starting with a wet blend of red and blue to create this desaturated purple tone. No stress, no pressure, just seeing where the paint takes me. And while I'm laying down these highlights on the cloak, using burnt umber and additions of cold white, I'm not really overthinking the texture here. I'm just letting the brush follow the rhythm of the volumes sculpted on the model. Why? Because it feels good, and that's really all that matters. And you know what else feels good? Being part of a creative and supportive community. And if that's something you're looking for, my Patreon has exclusive content, personal feedback sessions, and an awesome community of painters all looking to grow their skills. I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting me. You make all of this possible. If you're interested in signing up for the Patreon, where you can see extended exclusive lessons on each part of this miniature along with so much more, you can find that link down in the description. Enough of that, let's get back to the painting. I'm reminded of a story from when I was 10 years old. I found out that I needed glasses, and honestly, my whole world fell apart. I wasn't very happy about it. I just wanted to fit in and not stand out. You see, as a kid, I wasn't really good at sports, and I didn't care too much about school. Really, the last thing I wanted was to be lumped in with all the nerds wearing glasses, which, let's face it, I probably wasn't that category anyway. But guess what? As much as my 10-year-old self stressed about this, the other children really didn't care as much as I thought they would. A few weeks after getting the glasses, everything was back to being normal. This huge thing I was so worried about turned out to be not a big issue in the end. Isn't that funny? We sometimes put so much pressure on ourselves and worry about things that in the end turn out to be not that big of a deal. These things simply don't matter as much as we think. And just like back then when I was worried so much about what people might think of me and my new identity as someone who wears glasses, I'm seeing something very similar happen to miniature painting today. We put this massive pressure on ourselves to meet some imagined standard of how our miniatures should look when they're finished. But in reality, a lot of that pressure is coming from inside ourselves. As I work on the non-metallic metal on this miniature's shoulders, I'm not aiming for perfection. I'm playing around with contrasts, working with pale grays and adding in additions of ice yellow and colder whites. And in the recesses, I'm adding in touches of orange and some green into the mid-tone to give this weathered old look. It really all comes down to enjoying the process. Now, fast forward to today. It's been 20 years since that glasses story I just told you. Most of us dream about winning a Golden Demon. We dream about painting buttery smooth blends and creating exceptional award-winning paint jobs. And that's amazing if that's what brings you joy. But for the majority of painters, myself included, winning a trophy shouldn't really be the end goal. Rather, what matters the most is the process. And take that from someone who's won a few different medals at Monte San Savino and Contrast. Winning feels great in the moment, but it's deceptively fleeting. After I got gold in Historical Masters at Contrast, 30 minutes later I'm in the line at airport security thinking, is this it? So if you are chasing that perfect miniature or that elusive trophy, just remember that it might not feel as fulfilling as you might expect. Going back to the Corsage Night Guard, here I'm just letting the brush follow the rhythm of the sculpt of the beard. I'm gradually building these pale highlights in just a few effortless layers. And I'm allowing myself to get lost in some of these intricate details, such as this keychain that he's holding in his hand. I'm working with textures of different colors and these bolder brush strokes, not worrying about the blends or representing total realism here. And really, that type of painting is where the fun is for me. I also paint the axe using various tones of gray, purple, and some warmer colors in the reflections. The full lesson for the axe is available for free on my Patreon right now, so I won't bore you with all the details I go through here. And lastly, painting the base in some very similar tones to what we've used all across the miniature. I'm placing some particular emphasis on the skulls here in the back. And if ever I find myself tightening up too much while painting, I'll make a conscious effort to relax and breathe and maybe go paint a different part of the model. I'm simply trying my best to see where my creative impulses will take me. So that's the takeaway for today's lesson. You should paint miniatures in a way that makes you happy. Forget about trying to live up to social media competition standards or anyone else's expectation of what you need to create. Remember why you started painting in the first place. To have fun, to experiment, and to express yourself creatively. And that's why I'm painting the Corsage Night Guard in this way. Not for perfection or for the sake of trophies, but because it brings me joy. So, what's important to you in this hobby? How can you follow your hobby passion in a way that keeps it fun and fulfilling? Let me know in the comments, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. It's totally free for you to do, and it lets me know what type of video I should be making in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and here is the finished Corsage Night Guard.